This meeting to order. I will now read from the Open Public Meeting Statement. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, be advised the notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board, town hall, and serving the official designated newspapers. A notice stating that this meeting would take place at the town hall at 7:30 p.m. on September 7th, 2023. Forgive me. Roll call, please, Crystal.
Mrs. Canfield?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Frankel?
Here.
Mr. Barton is not here. Mrs. Gaylord is not here. Mrs. Wanga?
Here.
Mrs. Black?
Here.
And Mr. Kramer is not here.
Great. Just some announcements. There's an agenda change tonight. You heard us say, I don't think it has nothing to do with you guys, but I wanted to make sure that I let you know that a few of the nominations, that nomination has changed slightly, and we'll get to that. Also, at the August 16th Planning Board meeting, the historic preservation element of the master plan was approved. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So very happy about that. I wanted to thank Barton Ross and his team, again, for their outstanding work and professionalism. It was an outstanding report. Also, Janine's input on language. Also, the Society for their hard work and support, and guidance on historic content. And then, of course, the members of this board for your participation and support. I just want to really thank you. It was a big undertaking, and I really appreciate everyone. Crystal, everyone. So, are there any other announcements that need to be made? No? Hearing none, we'll move to the meeting minutes. I'd like to approve minutes of May 4th. Are there any additions or corrections in the meeting minutes? No? Do I hear a motion to approve the May 4th meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second? We'll now take a vote.
Mrs. Canfield?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga?
Yes.
Mrs. Black?
Yes. Motion passed. We will now approve the minutes for June 14th. Are there any additions or corrections in meeting minutes? Do I hear a motion to approve the June 14th meeting minutes?
Move approval, minutes of June 14th.
Second. We'll now take a vote.
Mrs. Canfield?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga?
Yes.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Great. We'll move on to memorializations from July 6th. It was application number 55412 The Crescent and application number 556 1 Nottingham. Do I hear a motion to approve application number 554 and 556?
So those were actually moved to the minor work committee,
Yes,
right?
yes, they were.
These are all consent agenda items.
Consent agenda.
They're not.
I apologize.
Okay.
You're right. So let's move on to consent agenda items.
Yeah.
So with that, we also have number 538, 151 Highland Avenue, number 545, 130 Highland Avenue, number 553, 26 Norwood Road, and number 555, 71 Taylor Road. And we have an exemption memorandum also. Do we have any questions or comments on these consent agenda minor work review applications? Okay. Do I hear a motion accepting the approval of the listed applications?
Is everyone eligible to approve?
Yes,
Those?
yes, yes.
Move approval?
Thank you. Take a vote now.
Mrs. Canfield?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel,
Yes.
Mrs. Weingoff, Mrs. Glass.
Yes.
All right, unfinished business, we have no unfinished business. Good thing. We'll move on to new business. So we have application number 557, 88 Stewart Road, block 3104, lot number 7. It's a non-contributing property in the Short Hills Park District. And I'm going to mess up your last name, so please come forward.
So the last name is Gesundman, but John is fine, and this is my wife, Regina.
Thank you. This is a regulatory application for various exterior improvements, including new porte-cochere, new detached garage, new patio, and new fencing, perimeter fencing, and other landscape modifications. If the applicant and representatives stand, you can be sworn in by council, please. And whoever will be speaking.
What is the architect's name?
Maria DeCosmo.
And Mr. Gunderman, what is your wife's name?
Regina.
Regina. Okay. Do you all swear or affirm that you will testify truthfully tonight before the board on this application?
Yes, I do.
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Um,
You're welcome to. You know what, we'll give, can we move Crystal the microphone?
it's okay, this
Are you
is
sure?
fine. Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
Okay.
The improvements are not new, except for the garage. They are modified. The porte-cochere, when it was built so narrow that you really can't pass a car through it. So we're before the board asking, well, we're going to seek a variance to widen it so that my clients could not only drive through it, but can drive through to the backyard to a garage. Because right now the property has no driveway, has no garage, and a porte-cochere that you can't really put a car in. So that's really the basis for coming back, is that the porte-cochere was built improperly the first time. So you can see here this yellow portion, that would be where it gets renovated. And the patio is existing. It is also just getting enlarged to try to make some kind of rear yard lifestyle. So the rear part patio is getting enlarged with a kitchen area. There will be a 2-car garage, and hopefully it's up in the air whether or not the pool, right now it's an idea, but we thought we'd bring it before you. Better everything than missing something. So you can see here, this is just the portion. Right now, it is so narrow that it's used just to stack the garbage vessels here. But unfortunately, in this area, there's been bear and there's a lot of deer. And so we thought it might be a good idea to actually enclose, and plus the trash cans are sort of unsightly. So it might be a nice idea to enclose them. So that is just part of the new portion of the porte-cochere. But other than that, it is actually there. In the rear yard, the existing patio basically ends here, and this is the portion that is new, which will encompass a outdoor kitchen and an eating area on the first level, because right now there's a degree of separation and you sort of would have to use the rear porch or the elevated patio area up top. This is really not quite big enough for a table with chairs. in the yard. It's just a two-car garage and a little bump out to store the mechanical equipment room for the pool. This is these are elevations of the garage. It's just a simple garage. Try to use elements to reflect and complement the home. And you can see here how it'll sit all together. And then the one comment that was read was that my client wishes to, and of course with a pool, you have to, enclose his yard with a fence. And so the irony of it is that he has this awesome dog, Zoe, and they walk the dog and they see this fence in the neighborhood. So that is actually where it kind of originated from. What we did today actually was sort of cite some for you. This is the subject property, and you could see like surrounding him, it is the same fence. We're not going to, if it's something you truly dislike, that's one thing, but we just wanted you to know that we were trying to work with the neighborhood and not against the neighborhood.
Was that,
That's it.
okay? Okay. Anybody else like to?
I'll say something. First, thank you guys for hearing us, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, to the extent I can. The only thing I would add about the fence is, I suspect, as all of you know, we have a real car theft problem, and because my neighborhood, because my house, you could go into the yard right through the street. I have endless videos of just my yard being used as the escape route for people running away from police. So I would, even if we don't do the pool, I would like to fence that in because I would prefer not to be complicit in their crimes.
Wow.
Thank you. Question? Absolutely.
Would any of these improvements, the fence, the addition, if you choose to do the pool, the patio expansion, would anything require variances?
Yes, we have to go for a variance for the portico. Sure, I'm
Do you know
pretty,
what
yes,
is?
it's a side yard setback.
Okay.
Tony, do we know how much it encroaches?
Well, it's about 1.5 feet or so. We didn't put that information on the document because Eileen said that's not the concern of the historic board, otherwise it would included it. But yeah, that is the variance for that.
But other than that, the portico basically looks the same as it does now.
It's just being pushed.
It's just being pushed out so a car could actually pass through it.
And no other issues with the expansion of the patio or adding the pool in terms of variances?
No,
No, the coverage is.
no,
Okay.
we're all good.
Coverage issues.
The Guntermans, they are from New York, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, yes.
So this is really exciting to have a yard, and they really love the neighborhood. So this is something they're really looking forward to.
A couple questions on your site plan. I think your subject property map is indicating the wrong location. It looks like you're up at the top.
Oh, this one with the fence?
No, right there on your front sheet with the orange highlight. The subject property is,
Yes, it's over here.
no, it's up.
Over here.
So
This is
that needs to
here.
be corrected, I would guess.
It's okay.
It's a cut and paste thing. that
Yeah,
probably
so
happened.
it confused me at first because I don't know
No,
of
you're
a
right.
house in that location. that's
Right,
got that
it's
set
on
up.
this
So,
bend.
Anyways, if that could be corrected. Do we want to mention Barton's report because he does raise some
Please go ahead.
issues about the fence at it's not really sitting in character with the setting. He does indicate that most everything is all right, we need to see spec or cut sheets. Will he propose to include specifically like for the landscaping or, the garage doors, things like that. But as opposed to the fence, having a fence right up against the road is not really in keeping. I know, I can see you've introduced some examples of other fencing in the area. I think these are all set back a little bit, and your fence is proposed to be right up against the road. I think that's the main objection. I don't know if you consider putting it behind the trees that you have there, that line the road. I mean, maybe that's a acceptable alternative than putting it right up against the street. I hear what you're saying about, things entering your yard, which is very uncomfortable. But if you seem to have a fair amount of vegetation on the road, that maybe that's something to consider for shifting the placement of that, of the fence. But I think it's a question about the material too, that is also part of his objection. So he's saying that the type of fence is not well suited for stepping down because of topography, but it has, in his words, an imposing fortress-like appearance. It's not welcome in the historic district. So I think we might want to have a further discussion about fence type.
Well, we're open to suggestions, but I have to tell you that I drove around today and it's almost every other home. It's just that I couldn't photograph that because they're in the backyard. The properties are large, and I'm not going on somebody's property to take a picture of the fence. But it was, it was a very prominent fence in the neighborhood, so I'm so surprised that, it's a source of discussion. I mean, we're happy to, listen to or take suggestions, but we actually got this fence from the neighborhood. In fact, this one here, it wraps the entire corner, the corner of Western and Highland. It wraps the entire, and this is just right around the corner.
Yeah.
And
No, I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah.
But it's not up against the road, whereas I think that's what, from what it looks like, you're proposing the
Well,
fence line.
that's just a line. I mean, we'll pull it in, and probably at 10th inch scale, this is probably the same as the property line to the buffer to the road, most likely.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that that's grandfathered to that particular property.
That was a replacement.
It was a replacement, yes,
For that fence?
yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
there was a
interesting.
rehabilitation of that fence line.
They had come in front of us and they were replacing an existing fence, so.
This one here on Western, it is actually, it's got to have years on it because it's got growth covering it, vines of growth covering it, and it's a nice big Tudor.
I'd also say that these are more decorative. I mean, the fence presented here is very austere, it's, the fence you presented is not as decorative as these examples you're pointing in the neighborhood, right? The one that you have on your
Well,
drawing.
this is really what we need. We need piers with an iron fence in between.
You presented this,
Okay.
right?
At the top of the,
I don't want to see the fence.
Right.
Sure.
The drawings they presented on A1, right?
on this page.
Your front sheet.
Your first sheet presented a fence. That's,
Right, it was like an idea of, see the image next to it?
yeah, they're both very austere. Like if you look at these, look how decorative they are. They have
That's,
rows in them.
that's fine. We're happy for that. I mean, that's not a problem at all. It was more the fact that it was an iron picket and a stone post.
I think he said though in his report, this type of fence is not well suited for stepping down because of the topography.
Right.
So it seems like his concern was about the actual topography because the property does go down, and he said that it was gonna be, because of the topography, it was gonna have like a very imposing fortress-like appearance. I feel like that's kind of what the ultimate gist of his concern about the fence was.
If you go to your A3, you have a cross cut of the property, and that would illustrate what Mr. Ross is talking about, how it would step down, and it would not be a continuous line, you'd have to have drops along the way in that middle cross section there. All these examples are on less gradual inclines.
That's only because that was what was in front of me. Some of the none of the topography is really flat in that area. So all the fences step, but they're all in the rear yard. The homes are stepped back, and I just didn't feel comfortable going up to the home.
Can I just add something about the fence side?
Please.
So we definitely, I definitely don't want to create a fortress, neither my wife nor I want that. Like our house is sort of known as the open house on the block. So I'm definitely not looking to create a fortress, which is why there's no fence in the front of the house. Like we don't want that. We want it to feel welcoming. The only thing that we were doing is with fencing in the yard, wanting to put in just a few basically stone pillars, is because that would match. And the reason I wanted to do that is because that would match the house across the street, the house immediately to my left, the house 2 houses to my right, the house 3 houses to my left. I mean, I just want to pull in the aesthetic of the neighborhood instead of denying it by not having any stone pillars.
Any other comments or?
Is there a way to soften it by breaking, like as Zach was saying, like bringing it in, into the property a little bit more, just so you can have some vegetation on the other side of it?
I'm sure, this is actually graphic. These trees are not measured, so the fence can come in right up to the shrubbery. I didn't know that was the actual concern. Otherwise, I would have done a measurement for you and told you exactly where, how far it can go in.
Yeah, it's pretty vegetated along there, so I think you could work with what you have. Bring in.
And that's the other thing that with the which I've seen on these other properties, with the vegetation, it sort of gets lost, because it's an open fence, so the vegetation actually grows through and kind of like encumbers it.
I think what we're missing here is a clear understanding of what the fence is gonna look like. So we would really need a more detailed specification of what you're presenting to us. We can't really tonight, so we can take this off the application and you can get us that information. But we're also missing, I think, some other pieces, like an example of the door that you want on the garage, is that correct? So we're missing some of those elements, specifications of the materials that you're using.
Okay, so we asked exactly what we needed and nobody mentioned that. So if you'll take a list and I'll be happy to provide you with everything you need.
So what I'd like to propose, if the rest of the commissioners will allow me to do so, is I think we'll let,
They want the exact door, they want the company,
we will
what it's made of.
accept right now what they're proposing, but specifications, clarity on the fence will go through minor work review, so they can confirm that they meet the requirements. So what we'll do is what were some of the, Zach, that you were saying that for missing material?
Yeah, I think for the garage, we certainly need to know the material type of the building itself and the doors that'll be installed.
Yeah.
We don't have a sense for the siding, right? I don't know, do you have that in here? Clapboard, right?
Yeah.
The siding's totally matching the house, it's not stone on that side, just the inside. the house is.
But the garage doesn't currently exist.
No.
Okay,
Right.
so we would really
Yeah.
need the specifications of the material used for that particular garage. Does that make sense? So,
It makes sense from the point that you want to know what materials are on the garage, but they're the exact same, they're going to repeat and imitate the exact same materials as the house.
okay, which we don't know what those are. So we would, so do you see what I'm saying? So we need to see, or the specs of what that material is. It's, you know,
Okay.
the specs on the roof, the siding, the doors, the windows, if there are any, we would need to know that. And you show landscaping, so we would certainly, I think, like to see a little more landscape detailed on what that's going to look like. Like, in other words, we can only go by what you have here, but is this the landscape design? So we're holding you to any new trees that are going in?
No, it's graphic. It's graphic to illustrate what is basically there. I mean, these trees are there. You know, this is similar
Mhm.
to what's there, but it's just graphic to give you a feel of the property itself. It is not exact. I'm not a landscape designer.
Okay, so what we're asking is we can't approve the pool without specifications on the pool, right? And how that would be designed and the landscaping. to
The problem is that it's almost like the cart before the horse, because if we have to go before the other board, I mean, like, I don't understand. How do I know that it's all going to happen?
Well, again, we need a full application to be able to vote on that application. And a full application gives us specifications of the material used, a landscape design, so we know when we're saying, okay, we might consider pillars here, we want to know what's existing, what you're going to put in.
Yep.
So you have a couple of choices here. You do have to go for a variance. I think it's always helpful to show us exactly what you want to do before you go for a variance, and we can approve this application. And I just don't think we have enough to be able to approve this application. If you want us to approve the pool, your fence, the new garage, we don't have the details.
I'm happy to supplement, I think. If we just know everything that you need, we'll put that in. As far as the garage, I think it says like it's an asphalt roof, it's stone bottom, it's what is it?
But do you have construction drawings on the garage?
Yes, it's the last sheet.
It's just,
These
you just,
elevations, and
okay,
there's call outs, and it says home materials to match existing house.
okay.
So it says asphalt fiberglass roof shingles, roof edge cornice molding trim, gutters and leaders, freeze board trim to line, bracket mounted light fixtures, corner boards, clapboard siding, trim casing at door and windows, stone top water table cap, stone facing, concrete footing, flat panel shaker style shutters. But those aren't specifications. If you want true specifications, I'd have to get you material specifications.
So I think at this point, I think what Barton was saying was mostly the garage, the doors, correct?
I think just the
Just the
fence,
fence.
just the fence.
Well,
as
and
well.
also I think the specifications on the garage.
No, I think he liked it, I'm sorry.
No, I think there may be some confusion in terminology, right?
Yeah.
We're really looking for almost like saying your design intent, like what are the level of windows are you putting in there? You know, you're putting this out to a contractor, right? You need to know how much this costs. You need to know what level of windows you're putting in, what level of garage door you're putting in. So you must have a design intent. It's not saying that's exactly the door you're gonna put in, but you must have a grade level of door that you could say, here, these are the Marvin, architectural series windows that we want. So usually what we get is a packet that says, we're using this type of,
That's pro-
either it's real stone or it's, stone facing.
It's,
You're using real wood, you're using a different type of, so.
well,
those-
it doesn't really matter at this point because you're going to want the full specifications. So it doesn't matter at this point, to just rattle out information because you really need the proof of specifications. But I'm not going to have them put Marvin windows on this garage. It'll be more of a Pella window, architectural series. And, the door will be an insulated wooden door and it will be beautiful and we'll get you all the specifications you need. I just wish that somebody had mentioned that.
Okay, so I think right now, we're kind of, I wish Barton was here, but we would not also be able to approve the pool at this point because we don't have any landscape design. So if you want to do this application completely, then I would have a landscape design of that pool. So in other words, that's what you're going to build, whether it's next year or 2 years from now, if you want us to approve it now.
So you're saying you would like the drawing from the engineer?
From a landscape architect, well, whoever would do your pool, so that would be the landscape architect, am I correct?
What about the pool? The pool, the materials? I'm doing the pool.
Okay, so we would just need specifications, so we could approve whatever pool that you have specified if you want us to approve it in this application. Does that make sense? So we need to know every detail, so then we can put our name on it. So then whatever needs to go and get a variance, they understand that we've approved all of the specifications, the landscape design, the pool design, and then everything, that's what we would vote on.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Can we tentatively approve the porte cochere so I could get a car parked under it for the winter? Because I don't think we can do the rest of this.
I'm gonna leave that up to the other commissioners. Any comments?
Yes. I kind of like how open it is. I think the wall where you're adding in, again, I don't know what's kind of coming this direction, but it seems like it's being boxed in. When I look at it, it's a porte cochere, but you're really creating like a 4 or 5 foot wall. Is that what's going along the edge?
It's just a place to put our garbage cans so they're not sitting in front of the house. That's all that is.
There were 2 comments that Barton raised about the porte cochere. Makes sense so long as the gable roof details are shifted in kind and the column details remain the same. That's, as long as that's applicable, then I think it's okay. So are you shifting anything with the peak?
No.
No.
It's not being altered. We're carrying it over. It's the exact same porte cochere. It's not being ripped apart. It's just being extended.
He's saying so long as the gable roof details are shifted in kind.
I'm not really sure what that means.
Well, you're widening the structure, correct?
Yes.
So if you're widening it, what are you doing to the peak of it? I'm trying to find.
No, the ridge goes with the new length. It runs with the length. So the ridge just gets
It
extended.
would extend the ridge
Correct.
laterally.
And you're using the same pillars?
Mm-hmm.
Gable roof details.
And the current, what is the current, this is 12 feet, that's not current, that's what you want to move it to? That's what you want it to be.
Yes.
Okay, and what is it currently?
It's on the inside of the curbing, so it's on the inside. I don't. The pillar's on the inside, so it takes up a foot on the inside.
So would you say it's currently 10 feet, 11 feet? Like how far do you have to extend the roof line?
1.5 feet.
Okay. And will you be using the same columns?
Yes.
And then,
We'll actually be reusing the existing columns.
and you'll be matching the stone at the bottom of the pillars currently?
Building the exact same piers.
Okay. But you also are building a encasement for the garbage cans too.
Made of the same material, the same stone.
Stainless steel on the covers, it looks like here.
No,
Flat panel shakers.
The doors.
flat panel shakers. It's not stainless steel.
Okay. Flat. Do you know what the material is?
Composite, Tony?
Probably, yeah. It'll be painted.
A composite wood is,
It's either the RAL, which makes a synthetic sheet goods that's for outdoor, or it'll be made out of AZAC, which is solid PVC. And it's made to look just like a shaker door with a floating center flat panel, and then it's painted. So that it's weatherproof and vermin-proof.
and the current floor of that porte-cochere is the bluestone or the cobblestone, whatever you're showing there? Or is it asphalt currently?
No, right now it's just pebbles.
Just
Dirt
pebbles?
on pebbles.
Okay, so you want to pave that then?
Yes, we want to pave the whole driveway.
Okay, so let me just back up here for a minute. We really need specifications on the materials you're going to use and where you're going to use them. Okay, so we need to know the depth of them, size of them, and that type of thing. So what I'd like to do, what I'd like to propose is that I don't think we have a complete application to vote on this evening. But what we can do is if maybe get with Barton in the next week and maybe he can guide you on what we need to accept this application in full. If you want the pool to be approved, the garage to be approved, or to share to be approved, and that you could come in front of us again on October 5th with all of that information. And it allows us, it will be sent to us prior to the specifications, so we can review them prior to that meeting. That's something,
That's okay with me, but can I just, is that another thing that I'm gonna have to put everybody on notice for, or is that just a continuation?
No,
Jeanine,
you
no,
can-
you've already,
we can continue with no additional notice.
Okay.
As long as we announce it at this meeting that we're continuing into October 5th,
okay.
then no further notice is
So-
required.
If we're in full agreement with that, we can continue this application.
Okay, so you would just like a full set of specifications on all materials, as if this was a CD document, a construction document.
Let's run it through Barton again, but to complete this application, we need to know anything that you're changing, we need to know what you're changing and the specifications of that material. Okay?
So I don't think we need a full specification. I think we need products.
Well, I'm,
Products.
So if you could give us, so if your intent is to use, again, the AZAC has come up a few times and we generally haven't approved that in the historic district, so, so things like that, we want to use, is it real wood? Is it, what
it makes,
level of wood?
it would make no sense to put real wood there.
Okay, so then what are you going to use?
It would be a
then?
composite material.
But I think that's what we're asking you to provide to us so that we can look at it and say, okay, we're gonna use, is it actual stones you're using? Is it a stone face, like this full wall? Like this is gonna be a very tall retaining wall in the back here, right? So is that actual real river stone like the house is, or is it a man-made material to look like stone. Those are the types of things we usually see, but we're not looking for like a written specification like you would get with a contract document set. What we're looking is to say, this is our design intent.
Like a material board?
Yeah. Like, so
And we don't need the actual material, we just need what you're putting, the number, like, for instance, what is the roof you're putting on the garage? And you would give us that specific roof and color, et cetera.
even the roof on the porte cochere, right? Because are you re-roofing the porte cochere?
No, it just continue the same shingle. It's the same shingle that's on the house.
And what is that?
It's an asphalt shingle.
You have, again, like you would just usually say, this is, because asphalt shingle comes in a lot of different grades and color and variation. So that sort of thing, we would just like to see, this is what we have, this is what we want to put on.
And even though you say, bluestone capping, what is the thickness of the bluestone capping? So we need a little more material details of what you're actually proposing, because that is new. Anything that you are putting new, we need to know what that material is. From windows, doors, siding, et cetera, okay?
So like, I would say for the patio, bluestone, flame treated, full color variation. That's a typical step for that,
Exactly.
that's acceptable.
Yes, acceptable.
But if it's for a cap, like a wall, you actually want to say it's 2 inches.
Or whatever it is, half
Okay,
inch,
well,
what it to.
I just want to get an
Yeah.
idea of how specific we have to get, that's all. Are we waiting for Barton to give us this list or requirements? or-
Certainly, if you feel better about that, we could certainly ask Barton
Okay,
to,
I
again,
would
work
feel-
with you on what we're requesting.
Because when he reviewed it, he didn't actually say that.
All
Yeah,
right.
he didn't ask
Well-
for any specifications.
Well, he did ask in the end of his letter, does talk about, we're looking for specification or cut sheet required. He is saying that in there, so. I think just the further conversation with Barton will help move this along.
And again, I think going back to the fence, if the pillar is something that you're considering, again, what are the specifications of the fence? Like what's the distance between each pillar? How far are you going to set it back onto the property? And again, the properties that you've referred to, either they were grandfathered and they were already there. I know one particular property, because it is mine, there was a huge wall, so that was already existing. So again, keep in mind that these pillars might have been there and then grandfathered off of that, or fencing of that type.
But even so, isn't that more appropriate? They've been there forever. This is a prototype or a
But they weren't there forever on this particular house, or this particular location. In other words, the style of the house, where it's located, that type of thing. Certainly, there's one across the street, I think, I'm very familiar with the house. By the way, it's a beautiful home.
Thank you.
And you have a beautiful yard there. I think we're willing to work with you. We're just trying to figure out what's more in keeping with the neighborhood and the style of the house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, we'll lay it out for you, but our plan is to keep with the style of the house.
Okay. And again, maybe just listen to what Barton's saying is, again, the grade. So think about that. This fence that you're proposing may not meet pool requirements because of the grade. So in other words, if you have a big gap, like in other words, as it starts to grade down, your fence, might not meet the requirements of a pool fence. So let's be careful about that, and certainly we can help you, or, that way. That's why I think a landscape design is very important, and especially if you want us to approve a pool. You don't have to do the pool right away.
What are the specifications for the pool? Like, you need to know if it's granite or it's a steel
Well,
thing, or how detailed?
Size, right?
Okay.
The size, exactly where you want it to be located,
Okay.
how it's going to be landscaped and fenced, all of those details. I don't think we need to know that it's going to be powder blue or this or that, but keep in mind, if we approve a a pool that is in the same, for instance, you have a little, it looks like maybe a spa area and stuff,
Here it's a hot.
Yes, okay. So if you decide to throw it on the other side, we can stop work. So we really need a more detailed plan than of what you're looking at, because again, we need to know to approve it. So would you like to come in front of us on October 5th?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, and-
okay.
And we'll work with Barton.
Okay, so we will hold this application until, and you'll come in front of us on October 5th. Yes, and we will work with you. I think we have someone from the public. Janine, would someone be allowed to speak at?
Sure, you should open a public hearing now on the application.
Okay, perfect. So if you guys don't mind, if you'd like to come forward? Yes, please. So what we're doing is we're opening the meeting floor to the public. Okay, and so if you want to come up, come up to the microphone.
Here?
Yes, and we'll swear you in if that's okay. Great.
And what is your name?
Jennifer Amorosa, and I live at 86 Stewart Road, next door neighbor.
And Ms. Amoroso, if you would raise your right hand.
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide to the commission tonight will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. I've been a resident for over 35 years of 86 Stewart Road. And I'm surrounded by, over the years, construction. And promised a lot. The architect's gonna do this, the engineer's gonna do this, and then the people in the township, they don't enforce it, but that's my problem. But just to let you know where I'm coming from, I forgot my glasses, but I have some comments and objections to the plan. I don't know all the details, but I will say, my property line on the north side of the property meets their property at 88. And I have huge pine trees that were there when I moved there. They tower way above the house. And I wouldn't want anything to happen to them. And they have a lot of roots. So I don't know if what's being proposed would require a variance for a setback or not. But I'm certainly not in favor of any variances that would change the setback requirements. And the Wieners who lived there before them, they bought the house from them. He did a lot of work where he didn't get any permits. And he raised the property where the carport is higher than my house, where it used to be. The Cavendish used to have a little patio there or whatever, but it was all level to my property. But he raised it. So when he raised it, I get the runoff with the water. And it causes a lot of erosion on the side of my house down the hill. So I'm concerned about water runoff in any situation. And, oh gosh, let's see. Right, and I also have, with the pine trees, I also have a line of arborvitae trees that I must have planted 30 years ago. So they're pretty tall too. So I wouldn't like to have anything to happen to the shrubs, but, and that, I guess, would come if the setback wasn't adhered to. And, all right, when Bruce Wiener tried to put in the garage in the backyard, they dug and they dug. You see, people don't realize it. Behind my house, that used to be a pond. Okay? I mean, an actual pond and woods. And then, old resident Lou Schwartz came and he knocked it all down and he started digging for a pool. Every time he dug, he hit water. Pumped it up. His pool's in the way high in the corner. But my concern is that's what happened with Bruce Wiener at 88th Street. He went to dig for the supports for the garage, and they did the best they could, and they let it set for a year. But come the end of the year, they had to take it all off, and they had to put in piers, like, you get in the water, you have a dock. That's what they had to put in to stabilize the garage, but they never ended up building one again. But so I don't know. But I know the pillars or the piers, whatever they're called, are there. So there is an issue with water all around me, behind me, on the sides, because people dig and they hit the spring. There's water under there. So so I'm just concerned about a lot of masonry, digging a pool, all this, if it's going to cause more water problems. And, I'm not an engineer, so I can't tell you. I can only tell you what I'm incurring right now, And, yeah, let's see. Yeah, I told you they raised it. I told you about the garage. Yeah. So that's a lot of my concern, because when people start digging, they hit water, and they come in with pumps and all this other stuff.
Well, thank you very much. It sounds like those are issues, like variance issues and something, in zoning, and certainly can be brought to the attention of zoning. Also, I think you'd be a great resource, and maybe to all of you, of the history of this particular property too. So, this is your next door neighbor.
Yes,
It's been
and
a
I
long
didn't
time.
know about any of this till I got your letter.
Yeah. So
Should have
again,
yelled out.
just knowing some of this stuff might help you prepare for what you might run into. So, again, thank you for your time, and
Excuse
again,
me,
hopefully-
I wasn't even gonna. I was lucky that you took them first, and there's nobody else here, because I wasn't gonna stay. I just got out of the hospital,
Oh,
so
you're better. Well, thank you
Okay,
very much
thanks a
for your
lot.
time.
so
Thank you.
I'll be glad to work with you guys.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Good. So
Okay.
it sounds like you just want to.
Well, I'd like to say something.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
So sure. I've been quiet this whole time.
Mhm.
You guys have noticed. You told me to be quiet.
Oh,
So it was like
I didn't tell him to sit down. Oh, my God.
So where do I stand?
Could you come up,
Yes.
sorry, or just move the,
Yeah, so we
move
can
that,
see you.
so we can
Yeah,
see you,
so-
sorry.
He said, sit there, be quiet. I did. So a little history about us, okay? I actually, we're immigrants. So I was born in Ukraine. My husband was born in Belarus. And we have like this very long story. We came to live in Queens and Brooklyn. And I actually always wanted to stay in Brooklyn. And then pandemic hit, de Blasio closed the schools. John always wanted like the whole American dream, grass, yard, house. And so when de Blasio closed the schools, we actually had seen this very house a year before. And then we spent a whole lot of time squabbling about, I want to live in the city. I want to live in the suburbs. And where are we going to raise the kids? And where are the schools better? So John was like, well, the schools are better here. And you guys don't know me, but I'm very big on education. So that was a big sell. And we saw the house, and when we came back right after the pandemic, looked around and we said, okay, let's just get it. And my dad was very upset about this house. Do you know why? Because it has no garage. And I said, garage? Well, who needs a garage? Like, we're coming from, there's so much parking. You could just park on the street. You could park in that gravel thing, the driveway.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, now I've learned actually that gravel thing is not snow plow conducive. Okay, that gravel thing is actually an ice war zone. Okay, you can't bring your grandma here in the winter because your grandma comes here, she's leaving with a broken hip. All right, so that's a problem. Also, I learned about generators, a lot about generators. I had never learned and known that a generator is a thing that you need in the suburbs until the second day we lived here, and the there was a storm. I don't remember its name, but no, it was not Ida. That storm. Wait, with Ida, no, not Sandy. No. With Ida, okay, we learned all about Bruce Wiener's water, and we spent a lot of money fixing Bruce Wiener's water problem. Okay, that was a whole different. We learned a lot there. Okay, but anyway, so I understand some of the issues that Ms. Amoruso has raised, actually, about the house, and I understand the importance of making sure everything is up to code. Actually, John and I are both lawyers, so we, of all people, understand the importance of following all rules. And so I think that we're happy to comply with whatever your rules are. When I looked at this, I said, looks very scary and fancy and amazing. Hope we get it, don't know. It's part of the American dream of living here and loving living here and raising our kids here and understanding and appreciating all of the neighborhood. And I like being part of the historic society. I like the conformity. So we're happy to comply, and we're happy to make sure that when we hopefully dig down or whatever those people, the engineer people will do that is beyond my scope of knowledge, that it doesn't cause water damage or water runoff or hurt any trees, because we moved here part and parcel for the trees. So anyway, I thought that would be my contribution to this meeting. Thank you for your time, and I'm gonna go sit there and be quiet because you told me to.
I want to say something on your behalf, though. The Wieners, their driveway came in off of Stewart and went down under their house. Their garage went under the house. So the advantage for you is, I didn't look at this to see where you're pulling, but if you dug there, I doubt if you're gonna hit water, because that's where the driveway went all the way down under the house, if you know what I mean.
So again, I think you're gonna be a great resource, but this evening we have to decide, and certainly historically, I do believe there was a shed on the actual property or on this. Do you remember that? Maybe the neighborhood?
No, they had a garage. The cabinet
In the corner
shed.
There was they had a garage under the house, I think prior to 2007. There was no garage, but there was an approval to build a garage.
Right.
Out
The
on
Wieners
the
just never
corner
built
of the
it.
property.
On
Right.
some weird side angle that actually destroyed or cut into the yard.
Is that where the piers are?
But I
Like, we
think
try to change
in
everything.
historic pictures, though, I think there was some kind of shed. It probably didn't have a foundation or whatever in there. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to see you guys, and we're gonna try to give you that dream house that you have, and we wanna work with you. So we will get Barton to get with you ASAP. We'll get this going so it can go and get a variance hopefully and not kill trees and, do everything that it needs to do, so.
In order to be back here on October 5th, you need the information by what date?
I'm gonna, does anyone know right off the top of their
It's
head?
2 weeks prior?
2 weeks, I think.
It's 2 weeks prior?
But there is some leeway. We've heard your application, and if it takes you a little longer, if we can just put you on for October 5th, you know, I'm sure there's some leeway there as to, we can give you, because this is the majority of it. Now we just need specifications and a few other items, so. Okay?
I just want to say one thing. The Cosmo Architects was the architect for this house. This house was really like a 1950s sort of track house, if anybody remembers. It was a very mediocre building. And the firm took that house and tried to bring it to what a Hartshorn architect would have done back then. So the firm is very much concerned to be sensitive to the house, because we did it originally back in 2007, 2010 for the Wieners.
Right. So we
familiar with the house.
appreciate that very much. And I think we're almost there. We're just missing a few little pieces here and there. So I appreciate the history of the two of you and why you came here, as that's the reason I think we all came here, was for the trees and for the community. But we also want to help you get what you'd like to have in this house. So just let's work together and we'll move forward. So I'm going to right now take, I'd like to, a motion to move this application to October 5th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Crystal, roll, please.
Mrs. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Glatt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga,
Yes.
Mr. Frankel.
Yes.
Terrific. So we'll see you on the 5th. You don't have to stay any longer unless you want to. And thank you. It's a pleasure meeting all of you.
Likewise.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Okay, so let's move forward. We will now move on to local historic district nominations. So let me just, as you guys already know the history, but with the element of the master plan approved, our next step as a commission is to preserve additional historic resources in the community. As you already know, this commission has been working toward recognizing and identifying resources now for several years. This isn't something that we just, pulled up. So with that said, I would like to make a motion to move forward on historic designations of the following districts and individual landmark. First, the Short Hills Village Historic District, Downtown Milburn Historic District, Nottingham Historic District, and Short Hills Club, which would be an individual landmark. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Crystal?
Can you just explain what you mean by that?
That's
Before we vote on it.
Okay, so basically these have been recognized on the element of the master plan. Okay?
Right, okay.
Okay, so we already knew, we've been kind of this downtown survey, we did the village, Short Hills Village, we've all seen that paperwork. So what we did is we took, I think right now, the top of our list, and we need to designate those. So they would be in by district. So the downtown is, nothing is designated
Right.
at this point. And you will receive all the surveys, but I think you've seen the village survey, you've seen some of these, and also from the downtown survey. Nottingham Historic District was something that the public really pushed us to do. And then the Short Hills Club was never part of the Short Hills District. So we kind of took that and we are now moving forward to designate them. Now, again, as you know, tonight we're saying that Barton can move forward on, this project.
So that's what I wanted to say, like, he's going to then take each one and prepare a nomination like we had for Parcel House, like we had for Passion House.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, as you know, then it will then come, which I will finish, I was hoping I could get a vote, but the owners, of course, will be, notified of the nomination, and we will hold a public meeting on October 5th. Okay? So it's a quick turnaround. And then there's a timeline for, then it would go to the TC, if we all agree with.
So he has the nominations pretty much drafted for the fall?
Well, you kind of know that. We've been dealing with that now for years. Remember the Short Hills Village?
Well, I'm like thinking Nottingham, like that's pretty new.
That's pretty new, but what we did discover, it's an interesting piece, that the society literally found documentation right at the same time
Huh.
that the public started asking questions about it, that it was a planned community. So that documentation was done for us in the 1920s, basically. So that's what we're looking at for this.
Okay.
Okay, so I heard a second. Thank you, Jessica. So we'll take a roll. Thank you.
Mrs. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga.
Yes.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Frankel.
Yes.
This is all very exciting.
Who was the second on that?
Jessica was, okay. Sorry.
So again, I think I mentioned that Barton will be giving a presentation on October 5th. That is a public meeting. We need full force, so please put that on your calendar, October 5th. And we can answer any questions, and at that point, then we all feel that it needs to move forward, it'll go to the TC, planning board, TC, and the final.
So we'll have the nominations before the 5th, right, to review?
Yes,
Yep.
they have to be done by the 15th of September.
That's
Next
quick.
week.
Okay.
Well, and thank goodness that these were already,
Yeah.
we've been working on these
Yeah.
for quite a few years,
Okay.
right? Okay, so just real quickly, I know you guys want to go, but some discussion items. I'm going to get serious here. I would like to remind all of you how important it is to get back with Crystal as soon as possible, whether or not you're going to attend the meeting or not. We are down one person, and hopefully we will have a replacement soon. I think you know the signs now. Kramer is on, so Bruce Kramer is running, so he's a little, we're losing him a little bit here too. But just get back with her as soon as possible. I mean, I recognize we all have responsibilities. I also recognize we're all volunteers. But even more so now with this nomination, this is huge, guys. The element of the master plan was huge. This is really huge, and it hasn't been done in 40 years. So this is big. So we really need all of you, and if you can't come, let us know as soon as possible so we can really start begging other people, please, unless you're going away. So do we have any other additional items tonight or anything to discuss?
I had proposed that we pass a resolution asking the township committee to enact an ordinance locally designating all the properties on the state and/or national register as local landmarks, which the township committee can do without going through this whole long process of amending the master plan by nominating individual landmarks or districts. So if the sense of the commission is that you would like to urge the township committee to do that, then I suggest I can write it up for the October 5th meeting, since hopefully we'll have the public here for the other nominations. I've asked Graham, what are those properties, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet.
So that's the Short Hills District and the Short Hills train station. What else is national or state registered? Wyoming is state listed.
I think Greenwood Garden.
Greenwood's national.
Yeah, I'm not just talking about districts though, I'm talking about individual properties.
Individual.
Right, so Greenwood would then be a local landmark, which we don't have
Right.
on our register.
Right. So, Janine, thank you. We did receive, I'm still waiting on information from Graham and Maggie too. I think we have until mid this month to put it on the agenda for October.
Okay.
So I'm
I
just
mean,
waiting.
The township committee could do it at any time,
Yeah.
and we could also do it at any time, but recommend to them that they do it, they have to do it.
Right.
But, as you all know, unfortunately, being on the state and or national register does not provide any protection from demolition or anything else that happens that's bad.
Yeah.
They have to be locally landmarked. And so it's this weird gap that I face in all of my towns and all towns face in New Jersey law, where we have some very good laws and very good protections, but unless the local HPC, has the township committee or whatever it's called designated locally, so
Right.
what?
Right.
It can come down.
So what I'd like to do, maybe, Janine, is maybe tomorrow I'll reach out to them again to light a fire and see
That
if
would be
we
great.
can maybe just talk Zoom to clarify
Sure.
what
Yeah, we could just look at the master plan now, but otherwise on the SHPO website, you just go to the county and you go to the township and there it is.
There it is.
So
Yeah.
only things listed, not
But I don't want to take it onto myself to figure that out. I can certainly do that, but I think that the planner should, sort of verify
absolutely.
what those are. And also, once you see the list, you may not want everything on the list. You may want to pick and choose. So that's the point. There has to be a bit of work, not a lot, but a bit of work to go into the.
Well, thank you. And just know, I just haven't gotten return calls
That's okay.
back either, so
No
thank
problem.
you.
I just
Thank
thought
you,
I would
Ira, we
keep saying
mentioned it today. So I move to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys so much.